Jeff, in the workout this morning, totally separate from the workout, but there was I was working out beside a retired couple on my left and a teacher on my right, and then there's off in the corner there's a trainer training either likely a college gal basketball, and then there's another couple that is just lifting weights sort of casually. And I learned it's a mother-daughter, and the mother was over there dancing, and just the music was awesome, and it was just hilarious, and she obviously felt very comfortable, and we're all over here cracking up, like cheering her on, and just the atmosphere was awesome. Hi, Jeff.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good day. I appreciate you offering this opportunity. It's great to sit down with you.
Thanks for coming on, and more so, thanks for the hospitality. The last 2 days I've been at your gym, I've done 2 workouts, and it's been an amazing experience. One of the best experiences I think I've had at a gym, and I travel a lot. I go to gyms all over. For my work, I cover the Southeast U.S. and I go to Florida, I go to North Carolina, and here I am in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at Jet Functional Fitness.
But you got it right. Most people call us Jet. That's just we've been known by over the last 11 years now, 11 plus years. So
yeah,
you got it right.
And I'm here for the largest air show in the world, EAA Oshkosh. Did you name your gym after airplanes?
I get asked that question fairly often, especially by new members. A little bit of a funny story that goes behind it. Years ago, when I was thinking about opening up a gym, I had been training it just on the side. Right out of college, I was doing some training in the clubs and stuff like that, but that just didn't really seem to be my niche. Mm-hmm. Being in massive clubs, it's different.
Yeah.
So I had gotten away from training and just been doing training in-house, where I had a couple clients I'd drive to their place, and so I was still training, but just not in a club. So right. Different, but yet not entirely different. But I pondered starting a gym it was probably a couple years, mm-hmm. and at that same time I was working for a fitness company where we were selling exercise equipment. So I was still in the industry, kind of related, and I used my fitness background to use my knowledge to sell equipment. Because I could educate the customers on how it's going to benefit them, what the best thing to do is, and then I'd write them programs for the equipment they bought, which they found a lot of value in that. But it was right about the time where we were going through a recession, like 2008-ish, where I started thinking, man, I might need a little extra, side cash to make up for what we weren't making anymore, just because business was down. And so I went back and forth, for a while, and when I got more serious about it, I was talking to my buddy, and his wife was there. And the conversation was mainly between me and him, because he also was a gym owner. And all of a sudden she piped in and she goes, you should call your gym Jet. And I just kind of looked and I go, huh, okay. And I thought at that time she was saying that just because I was in Oshkosh, and Oshkosh is known for the air show. And it wasn't until later that night I was, thinking about that conversation, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, wait a second, Jet, Jeff Ehrike Training. That's why she recommended it.
Perfect.
And so, long story short, it was actually a friend's wife's recommendation, and it dawned on me, why she said Jet. So when people ask me if it's because, even people that know me, they know my name, they still say, oh, it's because of the planes in the area.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I can understand why you think that, but it's actually Jeff Ehrike Training.
Nice.
So here we are.
And are you originally from Oshkosh?
I am not. originally from central Wisconsin. Came here to go to college, which that's where I got my kinesiology degree. So I actually went to school to do what I'm doing. And right out of college, I stayed here, got a job, and loved the area and been here since.
I know you went to college for what you're doing, and you and your team are very highly qualified. Before I get into that, I want to ask specifically about Oshkosh. You obviously love this town. There is something special about Wisconsin, about Oshkosh. The people here are so friendly. I think I had a great time in the workout. The workout is different from other workouts, but it's not that different. But the atmosphere here is different. It's in the whole town, but I feel like it's amplified in your gym. People are so friendly. People were just, I've been to 2 classes and they are talking to me. They know that I don't use kettlebells on a regular basis, and they're showing me the moves. And the couple that I worked out with this morning have been coming here for 3 months, and they're like, I'm not an expert, but let me show you what I know just to get you started. And then Dominic, the trainer, was in front of me, probably, I don't know, 5 or 10% of the class, because I'm the least experienced person, and he's coaching me. And you came over and saw things to point out, and the guys that around me said we were the same way for the first month. It takes a while to learn the kettlebell techniques. But all that said, you're not originally from Oshkosh. You moved here. What do you love about Oshkosh?
Well, going back to what you said about how the people here, I feel like the Midwest in general kind of has a reputation of just having very friendly people.
Yeah.
I was raised by 2 parents that, oh my gosh, I couldn't have asked for anything better. My mom is actually originally from Jersey, okay, and very, very friendly, very talkative, love her to death. And we, growing up, we'd take some trips out to Jersey and, get to kind of see, the differences out on the East Coast and here. And even just traveling back and forth, I do realize that we are blessed to have, the friendly people just, in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that other places you can't find them. For some reason, you just notice it more. People are a little bit more outgoing to say hello. And then with Oshkosh, more specifically, there definitely is a feel to the city, and the whole Fox Valley for that matter. And then as far as the gym, I guess just the way I've always been taught is you want to create a culture, because a lot of things start at the top and trickle down. And I've been blessed to have a lot of amazing people around me. Mm-hmm. And when you have a lot of amazing people around you, I mean, it just makes it easy. It makes it, it makes it very, very simple to be in a good mood.
Yeah.
Always have a smile on your face. Always greet people, open the door for them. Be polite. I saw a quote many years ago, and I'll never forget it. And the quote was, "All manners is a series of simple sacrifices." And I've never forgotten that.
Wow.
Because it's so true, and it's so easy to just say hello, and sometimes a simple hello with a smile can completely make somebody else's day.
Yeah. And
it's so simple to do. It makes me wonder, why don't more people do that? And like I said, I've been blessed that those are the type of people that I get to see here. And I believe that positive energy attracts positive energy. And so over the course of time, we've just built this amazing atmosphere. And when I say we, I mean like everybody that's part of it.
Yeah.
The trainers, I've been blessed to have great trainers. I've been blessed to have great people, and when you put all that positive energy together, it just, flows through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've truly been blessed, and I don't know, if it's luck or what, but we have it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds very cliche to say some of those things, but I feel like it's to the core. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Cliche or not, it's true. It's palpable. You can feel the positive energy at this gym, and it's the people, but it's also the surroundings. You mentioned quotes, and you have posters all over the walls with something positive about if you're thinking about quitting, think about why you started. Or there's just everywhere you look, there's something positive, and it's the whole atmosphere, and it's awesome.
Thank you.
You guys have a ton of equipment. You mentioned like the box gyms that you were training at, and it wasn't for you. And I think there's something for everybody. Some people love to go to a gym where everything's the same, and there's a line of treadmills and a line of stairmasters and whatever. And your gym you have everything is functional. It's TRX. It's the kettlebells. It's the big tires. You have an obstacle course out back that I want to talk about. It's mostly not new stuff. You obviously spent a lot of money to get stuff in here, and it's not your new gym. It's like people come here to work, and it's obvious the kettlebells are not new. Instead of the paint's worn off because it's been used, which is awesome, and it has tape to show what weight is there, and I love that. So So I want to get into like your style of working out, your style of training is different. I've done a lot of like HIIT classes and yoga or CrossFit, and you focus on the only tool we used today was the kettlebell. Yesterday we used TRX, kettlebells, and box jumps and some other things, but how did you develop your system? And talk to me about the functional fitness.
There's been a lot of tidbits through the years that I've kind of all thrown in a bucket together, and because you continue to learn as you go, okay? But I'd say where it originally started was back in college. I had an injury my sophomore year. I herniated 2 discs in my back. Okay, so I had to medical redshirt that year. I played a couple sports in college. With the injuries and stuff like that, I ended up just settling on track and field, which I initially had gotten into track and field. Never ran it in high school or anything like that, but I had a buddy talk me into it because I was trying to recover from a football injury. I hurt my shoulder. And anyways, I was that guy that in the weight room, I had no problem challenging myself, okay? But I was also very young, and you think you're invincible and stuff like that, so you just push and push and push. Well, that's how I ended up hurting my back when I herniated 2 discs, and it shut me down for a year. And it was a tough, long recovery, and it just started to get me thinking a little bit different. Where I realized that when I had to recover, I wasn't throwing around, 400, 500 pounds, anything like that. I started training a little smarter and started looking at risk reward. Okay, and in the sport of track and field as a sprinter, everything's recorded. Like in other sports, you can be like, well, I think I played better, or I think I did this better, but you don't necessarily truly know because everything is different. In track and field, if you run faster, you run faster. Well, it's 1/100th of a second, 1/10th of a second, whatever, right? If you're getting better.
Right.
And when I actually stopped lifting crazy heavy weight and started thinking more on a risk-reward relationship to my training, I ended up getting a lot more explosive and a lot faster, which was obviously that's why you go in the weight room as an athlete, isn't
Right.
to, say you lifted a ton of heavy weight, it's to improve whatever you're competing. Okay, so I started realizing that it's not always about the weight you're doing, it's how you're doing it, it's the quality of the movement, okay, and that directly improved my performance on the track. And it wasn't like a slight improvement, it was a massive improvement after a major injury. So it kind of dawned on me, and I was like, wow, like I don't have to, throw around a ton of heavy weight to still get the results I want. And then as you get older and you get out of college and you're dealing with everyday people that really just, they want to be able to function, okay? Hence Jet Functional Fitness, okay? Everybody wants to look good, everybody wants to be healthy. I've never had somebody walk in my doors where I've asked what their goal is and they say, no, I don't want to, look any better. I don't want to get healthy. Everybody wants that, right?
Right.
And there's other goals that come along with that, but everybody wants to, feel good. Well, regardless of how they look or how healthy they are, if it hurts to walk up and down the stairs, if it hurts to play with your children or your grandchildren, if it hurts to do those things, we're not going to truly take advantage of, things we enjoy. So for me, our goal here at Jet is, and it's come from just learning and having experience, that it really is about helping people get their goals and also like allowing them to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Okay? And most people out there, especially active people, have some sort of tweaks or injuries, or sometimes minor injuries, sometimes major injuries that you always have to work around. So it's not just this cookie cutter approach where it's the same thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons we have so many tools at Jet is because we are constantly substituting movements for different people based off of what they can do. With me having, the privilege of being educated in the field and learning, the anatomy of the body, the physiology of the body, how it all works, it has allowed me to then just come up with substitutes that allow us to get to the same goal, but maybe just a little different path.
Yeah.
So we look at things, like I said, from that risk reward perspective. If something is risky and then I want this reward, well, if I can find something a little less risky but can get us that same reward, well, we want that, right? It only makes sense.
100%.
So the kettlebell is something that I've learned through the years gives us all the benefits of many other tools out there, like let's say a dumbbell, and I've just found I've been able to get those same results, but the kettlebell allows us to do more. In some ways it's safer, and then all those other tools you see, some of them I've made, some of them I saw something online and I was like, okay, well, like how can I get that, but maybe not have to, maybe it wasn't in the budget at the time,
right?
Okay, because as we've built, I mean, there's been, it's some of these things it can get very expensive, but
you have a big gym. I know you didn't build it in a day.
I've learned to be very creative, and just come up with tools that maybe I was able to make.
Yeah.
Instead of having to buy a sled, I was able to make one.
Wow.
We've also had many amazing people along the way that, as we've built relationships with them, they have skills that they've been able to, work with me, and we've been able to come up with some things that it looks like it's, bought in because it's completely professionally done, but it was actually a member of mine that put it together, and it's crazy.
Wow.
How so many things have come from just, go back to the original amazing people that we have here. So,
yeah.
It's pretty cool when I step back and actually think of it.
Yeah. Kettlebell, you mentioned the difference between a kettlebell and a dumbbell, and as I was doing the moves today, the cleans and the raises and just the swings, and I'm having to pull the kettlebell and then stabilize it. I thought about I've spent quite a bit of time in physical therapy, whether from golf with twisting or because I was doing it wrong, or I tweaked something on an obstacle course race. The physical therapists always focus on the core, and it's like my back hurts. Okay, we're going to work out your front, or we're going to work out your glutes and your hamstrings. But it's always mostly focused on core. And it seems like with the kettlebell, I'm not only just working out the biceps or the muscles that look good or that are going to be seen. I'm also, by stabilizing that, I'm having to tighten up my core, which I know is functional, and that's going to keep me out of the physical therapist, because I'm doing things that you and your trainers are telling me, and we're explosive movements, which are building the big muscles and the little muscles at the same time.
Absolutely. You're 100% right, kind of piggybacking off of that. I was told many years ago that athletes are built from the core out. Mm-hmm. Okay, and one of the things that we stick by at Jet is we train everybody like an athlete, because athletes have what we want, right? They're able to function very efficiently. Mm-hmm. And regardless of how young you are, we all want to be able to function, okay? And you'll see people in our classes we've had people in classes that are professional athletes, some very young athletes that have bright futures, all the way to grandparents. And many of the times they're doing the same movements, but maybe the mode at which they're doing it is a little, different, mm-hmm. Okay? And that's because we all have to function.
Yeah.
And so, like you mentioned with the kettlebell, because the way it's designed and also because the way we structure the workouts is, you're always using your core. But the method to the madness is when we function in real life, that's what we have to do. And the whole goal of training in a gym is to, make or do things, I should say, that help outside of the gym improve also. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different things out there, a lot of different movements, exercises, where, doing something is always better than nothing, okay? But many times if you do something in a gym, it doesn't necessarily help you outside of the gym,
right?
Okay? For example, at Jet, when we're talking about the different tools in the machines that we do have, you'll never see machines like, let's say you're sitting down and you're doing let's say a bicep curl, mm-hmm. Okay? Or a single joint movement, okay? We typically don't train like that just because we don't use our body like that,
right.
Okay, in real life, okay? And you can do those things for, looks and stuff like that, and that's great, but as far as what we do here is we're trying to do things that mimic real life movements. And in real life, if you pick up a box or a child, or you're doing yard work, and if you don't stabilize your core, you're not properly balanced, things like that, chances are you're going to pay for it, or the probability of getting injured is going to be significantly higher because your body's not accustomed to doing what you're having it do.
Yeah. Okay,
you didn't prepare it for that. So the way we look at things is we want to prepare your body for what it actually has to do, so then when it goes to do it, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the whole mindset of using kettlebells and doing multi-joint, multi-functional movements, because, that's how we function.
Yeah.
In real life.
You played a lot of high school sports. You played basketball, football, baseball. I'm sure I'm missing something.
Oh, you nailed it.
Okay.
Basketball, football, baseball. Yep.
And then you got into college and you narrowed that down. Did you play football in college?
A little bit, yep. Until I got injured.
And then you got injured, and you started track and field,
yep.
Focused on sprints.
Yep.
And I think the story you told of being active, you find things where your body's weak, and you get injured or you get tweaked, and you learn how to adjust your workouts and your and just what you're doing to adjust to your body or to strengthen your body or and I would much rather find out where I need work, where my body needs work by working it, and then being sedentary and never finding those places, and I've seen people that as they get older, they just get less and less and less functional, and their body just turns in, and they get to where they can't do anything. And I would much rather be in a place like your gym or just active, and finding those little things that need work, and working on them. And so I was thinking about the lady that was dancing. That was awesome. I think as we're talking, there's either a high school or a middle school boy out there being trained in basketball.
Yep.
And so you have kids. There was a 2.5-month-old baby sitting in the stroller watching his mom work out, which I thought was amazing. That she's in there on her own pace, but she had a timer, and she's doing the daily workout.
Yeah.
And then you have retirees, and so you're training the whole spectrum from top level athletes, I'm sure, to people who probably have been sedentary, like I was sedentary for 3.5 years ago before I started really got serious about my journey. And you got the whole spectrum. So I think you sort of already talked about your experience and how you train those different people. But I wanted to ask you, how do you do it, training just such a broad spectrum of people? You don't just have one class. You have everything. Talk personal fitness. What's your spectrum of work?
I guess the way I looked at it from day one is I felt as though if you're truly educated in the field and you understand, once again, the way the body works, you can help everybody in some capacity. I mean, we've been blessed to have some amazingly gifted athletes come through here. Actually, the fellow who's doing basketball training for me right now, he actually was a previous athlete of mine. He came to me initially because he had the same back injury I did, and wanted to, get my help to recover it, because he had a goal of playing professionally overseas. And he reached that goal, and he's played overseas now it's been, I want to say, like the last 7 years he's played, whether it's Australia or Europe, Spain, you name it. And he loved the experience so much that now he's working for me.
Wow.
So whether it's somebody injured or whether it's high-end, young athletes, high-end, college athletes, adults, parents, grandparents, I mean, with a correct exercise prescription, you can help anybody, okay? And another belief of mine is that being truly fit means there's a ton of different aspects of that fitness, okay? When people initially think of it, you hear people say a lot of things like, oh, I want to work on cardio, or I want to work on strength. And they kind of limit it to those two, all right? Well, when you think about it, being truly fit means you're well-rounded in many things far beyond just that, not just being cardiovascular fit, not just being strong or functionally strong, but it also means having good balance, having good flexibility, having good mobility. Mobility is of the joint, flexibility is of the muscle, having good coordination, and don't know if I already said it or not, but balance, things like this, where all of those components, if we don't work on them, we'll lose them.
Yeah.
I don't care how young you are. Even if you see high school kids that aren't working on it, they'll lose them. Granted, the older we get, the quicker we lose them, But I mean, you hear stories all the time of somebody we know, they slipped, they fell, they hurt themselves, and kind of joke about it, but I always say, it's no more slippery now than it was 30 years ago.
Right.
Okay, it's just a lot of times people lose their ability to either maybe balance or stabilize where they can catch themselves, versus having none of that, and then you go down hard and you break something, or your bones are weak because you haven't been properly, doing strength training, things like that. So I believe all of those are important. And once again, going back to one of the benefits of kettlebells is in the type of movements we do is they challenge those components without even realizing it. You mentioned before you're stabilizing the core. Well, yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. But also when you're doing those movements, you're also working your balance. Okay, you're also, if you're doing the movement correctly, you're taking it through a full range of motion. So believe it or not, you're actually helping your flexibility and your mobility. Well, you don't even think of that when you're doing it. You think, oh, I'm doing a strength movement or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
Well, those are benefits that you get when doing correct movements, okay? And sometimes I've seen it happen so many times where I've had people walk in here and they've been doing a great job on their own or at a club or doing, some sort of exercise programs, but they've actually been maybe maintaining their strength but losing some of those other things that are very, very important, and you don't realize how important they are until you get injured.
Yeah.
And they didn't even realize it. They thought they were doing a great job, and it's a phenomenal job. It's just being active in general, but it's maybe not as efficient or maybe not as beneficial as if we were to tweak some movements to now we're doing them in a more functional manner where we're getting all those added benefits, which make a huge difference in the long run. Because a lot of times it doesn't mean you have to work any longer, okay? You can still do these movements, and let's say somebody designates an hour to work out. Well, it doesn't mean you have to take longer. It's just more efficient movements,
Yeah.
okay, to get more overall benefits. And now you take that over the course of days, weeks, months, years of doing a correct exercise prescription, makes a huge difference in the long run.
I'm glad you mentioned the time working out, so you do these workouts, and I feel like I've learned this, and I want to ask you, can you ever stop?
I think you know the answer to that. Can you ever stop? I mean, you shouldn't, because once again, you stop doing it, you lose it. And unfortunately, that's just the way the body works, right? It's very unforgiving.
Yeah.
I heard a professor once told me that you lose it about 3 times as fast as you gain it. And whether that's completely accurate or not, I think it gives us a good perspective of the idea that, you know what, I can't stop because I will lose it so much quicker than I gained it, and I put in so much time to get where I am. I don't want to have to put in 3 times as much to get back.
Yeah.
Another question I get all the time is, does it ever get easy? And the answer is it shouldn't.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes I'll kind of indirectly put my personal training clients through a little bit of a test that they don't necessarily realize it's a test at the time until after we're done, and I'll explain it to them. I just did it recently. Last week I did it with a member where I took him through a routine that I'd taken him through about 9 months ago. I also took him through that same routine 6 months previous, and then 3 months, and then just recently. And I recorded, his heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
I recorded his heart rate after 5 minutes. And it was really kind of cool to see his expression when he realized what was going on. Because when I showed him how, okay, we did the same exact routine, the same exact weight, same weights, same rest periods, we were doing like 30-second intervals in between, same amount of reps, everything was the same, and we recorded his heart rate as soon as he was done. Then we took a couple minutes and we recorded it again. And when he started the routine, the first time he did it, his heart rate was off the charts. Okay, and then now we fast forward, 9 months down the road, same exact thing. He went through it and it was a breeze. And his heart rate was, instead of being like 176 when he started, it was, or when he did it 9 months ago, did the same exact thing, now it was like 112.
Wow.
And so I explained to him, I said, look, this is why we have to do these types of things, because many times people judge their results off of stepping on a scale, okay, or how their clothes fit, and those things are okay, right? But we also have to look at the big picture and see, okay, how hard is my body working? How hard is my heart working? Have I improved in those type of things where you can't necessarily see those, but I can make an argument that those are as important as anything, okay? And so when I told him, like, look, you did this 9 months ago, you were gasping for air, your heart rate was, 176 or whatever it was super high, 186, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Now you did the same exact thing and you're at 112. Okay, it was a breeze for you. And I explained to him, not only is it good to see internally how much healthier you are, how much stronger you are, how much easier it is. Your body does the same exact amount of work in the same manner. Here it was very difficult, here it is very hard. Okay, and I said, I see this a lot because people come to me and they say, does it ever get easier? Well, no, because we continue to push ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? And if we ever take a moment and take them back and have them do what they did day one, then you see the light bulb go off and they're like, holy cow, I've made a ton of improvements because I can do the same exact work now, and it's simple.
Yeah.
Where back when I started, it was very difficult. And so we kind of use things like that, little tools from time to time to show people how far they've come in other ways than what they've even been measuring.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature, we measure it off of looking in the mirror,
Yeah.
Stepping on the scale, doing things like that don't really tell the whole story.
Yeah.
So, going back to your question of can you stop? You don't want to, okay? And the other question is, does it ever get easy? Life gets easier, movement gets easier, but when you're putting in that time to improve, you should always try to challenge yourself, and not kill yourself, challenge yourself. And that constant challenge forces our bodies to constantly adapt to something better. And that adaptation to improvement is really, that's the master plan. That's what we want.
Yeah. I was disappointed when I came to that realization because I've gone through, like a lot of people, I've gotten in good shape and then stop, and good shape and then stop, and it's not like this. It's like it gets a little bit lower every time. My fitness gets lower as I get older, and but now that I've realized that, I know that I'm not, when I'm 90, I'm not going to be doing the same workouts as I am now when I'm in my 40s. However, I want to still be moving. When I'm 90, I want to pick up my great grandkids, be able to do a deep knee bend and pick up my baby and hold that great grandchild. And I will not be able to do that if I sit on my couch and do nothing. And so I have that goal in mind, and also I think about, what are the things that kill us? We're all moving toward death, and so what kills us? It's cancer. It's you fall, you break a bone, you break your hip, and then but if you have muscle and you have bone density from running or from lifting weights or whatever it is that you choose to do, you're less likely to break that hip if you fall. Or like you said, you're going to catch yourself, you're going to recover, you're going to be able to have the coordination, the balance to not fall, or to be able to fall in a way that you can control it and not have it be catastrophic.
Absolutely.
I think, and I've read that exercise is very good at cancer prevention and just general health, but diet and nutrition play a big role there. How do you advise your clients on nutrition?
A lot of my degree also included nutrition, just to kind of try to separate myself even further. I went out and I got a certified nutrition coach certification. I mean, it's all part of the recipe, you know. If you're not using all the ingredients in the recipe, yeah, you're still gonna have an end product, but is it gonna be what you wanted? You know, probably not.
Yeah.
So yes, nutrition is huge. I am also somebody that I'm a firm believer that you have to enjoy life. Okay, so I'm not gonna be that coach that expects you to be perfect. I coach my clients, hey, we gotta find something that is maintainable, where you can still enjoy life, you can still, you know, have fun, and that fun, well, that might be a different, you know, idea for some people than the next, but for some people it might be being able to go to a party and enjoy a piece of birthday cake.
Yeah.
Okay, some people might be having a glass of wine with their spouse, you know, a couple nights a week. You know, whatever that is, we have to find a way to, you know, get you what you want, but also be realistic and also allow you to enjoy life. You know, I see it happen too often is people go down this path and they try to bite off more than they can chew. Okay, yeah. Whether it's I'm gonna work out 7 days a week, here I go, and they're good for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden, oh, this is too much, and they go to 6 days a week, and that's too much, and then they go to 5 days, and then they go to 4. Well, going backwards, that's psychologically that's going the wrong way.
Right.
Okay, and research has shown that it's actually better to start with something maintainable. You know, maybe they start with 3 days a week, and they're nailing it, they're pounding it, no problem whatsoever. They've been going, you know, a month and a half, and they say, you know what, I really have this down. I'm gonna add a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then they get that down pat, and then they add another day, or whatever, okay? Or maybe then they add the nutrition piece, or whatever it may be, but they add, well, that's the exact opposite psychologically. Now they're feeling good about themselves moving forward, instead of being like, I failed, I have to take a day off, you know? So those type of things matter too.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, if we can find something we can be consistent with, that's huge. And so the nutrition, that's part of that too.
Yeah.
You know, maybe don't eat perfect, but maybe we improve it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the number one reason people tell me, you know, because I run into people outside of Jet all the time, and for many times they just feel they need to tell me their exercise routine. like they think I'm judging them when
Right.
you know, we don't even have to talk about that, but they'd be like, I know I need to get back into the gym. I'm like, okay, you know, that's cool. But then, you know, that's just people. But I always hear, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. And my thing with that is, believe it or not, taking care of ourselves buys us time, buys us more time. I'm not even talking about at the end, you know, whether we can have a debate on whether it helps us live longer or not. I believe it does, okay, but whether it does or not, completely forget that point of it. I believe it buys us time on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If we sleep better, our hours awake are gonna be more productive.
Yeah.
Okay? If we feel better, they're gonna be more productive. You know, so when you actually break it down, let's say somebody wants to start an exercise routine, or some sort of program, and they're working out 3 days a week, and let's say each one of those times is an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, now if we really think of it, how many hours do we have in a week? It's 168, I believe. Okay, so we're taking 3 hours out of 168. So percentage-wise, that's a pretty small percentage
mm-hmm.
of that week, where let's say that's 2.5%, somewhere around there off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's think about this. If we take 2.5% of our time each week, and maybe it's not the most fun, because, I mean, trust me, there's days where I'm working out where it's no fun whatsoever while I'm doing it. I understand I have to do it for the benefits, but at that moment, just not feeling it. But I do it because I know that the other, 97.5% of time that I have that week is going to be significantly better.
Yeah.
Okay. And when we can step back and really get people to, have that perspective, that kind of eliminates the excuse of not working out based off of time, because we all have the same amount of time. We all
Right.
have 24 hours in a day. And people that work out, I bet you most of them would agree with me on that. It buys them time in other ways where, it's not taking away that time. It's adding more efficient time.
Yeah.
So that's my take on that.
I don't think
Appreciate it.
I really do go to gyms all over, and I haven't seen anything like this with just kettlebell focused. And there's HIIT classes, of course, everywhere, and they might have a kettlebell. I've never seen even a whole kettlebell class, but that's your thing.
Yeah.
Kettlebell. What would you say? They're in 50% of your workouts.
Oh yeah, at least in some capacity in every workout. I was initially introduced to him by a good friend of mine, Derek Toshner, who, funny enough, he actually trains some of my classes now, which he does that more as a personal favor to me. Just we're good friends, so we help each other out. He used to have his gym also. He got out of that years ago, but he's one of the greatest trainers, probably in the state, if not country. He's very good. And he introduced kettlebells to me, 12 years ago probably now. And him and I went through, it was a Russian kettlebell certification, RKC, which at the time kind of got its name by a fellow by the name of Pavel. Pavel's like the kettlebell god. Okay, and Pavel and the Duquesnes, John and Andrea Duquesne, started the RKC together. And I remember that was like the certification to have. And what I liked about it at the time was it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It wasn't one of those certifications where just, back then anyways, it was Derek and I both did it, and both of us, we were both collegiate athletes and everything, so we had tough practices to have it compared to and stuff like that. And both of us were like, wow, that was tough. And then we both went on to get our RKC2. And I remember when I got my RKC2, there was like 200 people in the world that had this certification. And Pavel was the guy that basically brought kettlebells back to the United States. He's a Russian. Very impressive dude to talk to, very educated, very good at what he does. And so to have, at that time, it was the pretty much the top kettlebell certification out there. And to know that there's only a couple hundred people in the world that had this. And in order to get the RKC2, you had to know your stuff, but also you had to physically be able to perform it. So I looked at that and I was like, holy cow, there's only a couple hundred people in the world that have this, yet there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people teaching kettlebells out there.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why you see, not ideal technique out there. If you go online and you search kettlebell stuff, I bet you probably 80% of what you see is being taught in some way or another wrong. Okay. And kettlebells, there's kind of a stigma that comes with it sometimes, and people think, I don't want to hurt my back because you're swinging this kettle, you're just swinging a weight. And if you think about if you told me somebody was swinging a dumbbell, I'd be like, what are they trying to hurt themselves? Like, well, you don't swing dumbbells. Well, now you're swinging a different type of weight, so I can understand why people think that, right? Yeah. Well, you put that together with somebody, teaching bad technique, or most people teaching bad technique, you're going to get injuries.
Yeah.
Right? So, back when I initially was certified and stuff, I was like, man, we really, in order to overcome this, we really, really need to be, strict on technique, super strict. And as the times went on, I realized people love that. People want you to correct them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one of those, I don't want to hurt their feeling. No, they want it. They that's what they pay for.
Right.
You know, it's a couple of things that come along the way when you're learning, you know, with kettlebells and how it's different and stuff like that. It almost helped because you have somebody come in here who's lifted their whole life and done dumbbells, and then you try to tell them to do something a little differently. They go, that's what I've been doing my whole life. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
You know, but it's a little bit easier when it's like, well, this is a kettlebell. This is different. This is new. You've never worked with it before. This is the way to do it. And it's just, oh, okay, teach me.
Yeah.
You know, so things about this gym that when I step back and look at maybe why it helped the success is, you know, it's just a combination, and teaching somebody something new is sometimes easier than teaching somebody to break a bad habit.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you get to start from zero.
start from scratch. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a vegetarian, and I did that because I had high cholesterol, so it was totally, it wasn't really a philosophical thing. It was just, my cholesterol was maybe 20% over the high end of where it should be, and I just started cutting things out, starting with red meat, and then cut out chicken, and now my cholesterol's in line. And I also like the way I feel, and I love vegetables, and just and I don't miss meat. I'll try it sometimes. I actually went to I think it's called Parsons, and had some fish last night. I had a bite of my brother's fish. And
That's a great spot.
Yeah, it was delicious. And so I'm not religious about the diet, but I do try to stick to a vegetarian diet. I know somebody in the town where I live. He's lost 95 pounds, and he does the carnivore diet. So we're exact opposites, but we both have lost a significant amount of weight, and so and we did it. So you know, I don't think there's a one size fits all nutrition, and I totally agree with you that, you know, if it's if you want to cut out sugar or I don't think it's good to cut out sugar. Cut down on sugar. Maybe cut it out for a period of time and see how you feel, and then add some back. Which, instead of having a half dozen donuts, have a half donut or one donut, and maybe instead of, you know, having wine 7 nights a week, you have it 2 or 3 nights a week. But is there a protocol that you try to get your clients to do, as far as like counting calories, or is it really just focused in on each individual person?
Good question. And it sounds like you have a very good understanding of how everybody is different, and you're 100% right. I don't believe one thing works for everybody. As far as, you know, what their body needs nutritionally.
Right.
Okay. I do believe exercise helps everybody, but, you know, how we go about that, it has to be different. Just like eating correctly is good for everybody, but how we go about it is going to change from person to person.
Right.
We're all different. I've seen crazy things that work for some people, and I'm like, wow, that would not work for 98% of the population, but it works for them.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Finding that, yeah, sometimes it's a little difficult from person to person. Sometimes we have to tweak their plans as we go along, and that's something that I've done this long enough where I tell people right up front, look, we're gonna have to, you know, play with this as we go, because it's impossible to just know right off the bat what somebody needs.
Yeah.
When somebody comes to me, one of the first things I tell them when they're asking me, well, what do you think, how many calories do I need to take in a day? I look right at them and I say, I have no clue. And they look at me like, oh, aren't you an expert in this field? And I know, and then so I explain, I say, the reason I say that is, if somebody was to look at you and tell you what you need, unfortunately, they're not being honest with you.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, because, you know, even those charts, you can go online and plug in your weight and plug in your age and your height, and it tells you need this. it's guessing.
Right.
It's impossible.
And one chart says one thing and the other chart might be 10 or 15% different.
Yep. And so one of the things, just to give me a better idea of the direction we need to head, is I tell them I need to know where you're at. Because I can't tell you how to get somewhere unless I know where you're at. All right? So I need them to track everything they put in their mouth for at least 2 weeks. Okay? And I tell them, do exactly what you've been doing. Don't try to eat extra good these 2 weeks, because that doesn't give me a really good idea.
Right.
It doesn't give me a true idea, okay? So I say, do exactly what you've been doing for the next 2 weeks. I need everything documented, everything, okay? Whether it's a glass of water, whatever, okay? And try to be as accurate as possible. The more accurate they are, the better it's gonna help me, okay? Well, then I'm able to look at what they've been, their intake, and what that intake has been getting them, okay? If they've been maintaining their weight, okay, now I can say, okay, well, this has been getting us this. Okay, well, you want this, which is not this, so we need to adjust this.
Right.
Okay, and then we go from there. Okay, so I try to get a good idea of exactly where they're at. All right, and then from there, we can start making a plan to take them a different direction.
Okay.
Maybe it's an aggressive plan, maybe it's some minor tweaks, but I don't know that unless we actually take an in-depth look. And then we can go from there. And in your case, it's awesome. What you've done is clearly corrected the problem. Boom, bullseye. Great. You feel good. You're functioning good. Your blood work's saying I'm healthy. That's what we want. That's awesome. You figured it out. Sometimes people can figure that out in a very short time. Sometimes it's a longer path for others. So everybody is so different, and as a trained professional, you have to, in my opinion, you have to be ready for that. And it's going to help my cause, I believe, if I warn my people in advance, like, look, this could take some time, okay? And if you don't, it's almost like you plan for the worst, hope for the best. If you educate them on the process, then if it happens, they're like, oh, well, you told me this would happen. Just like when I have people join the gym, we see it typically in females a little bit more, but they'll see a weight gain before they see a weight loss.
I saw that.
And if I don't tell them that in advance, well, I'm pretty much asking for them to, maybe get a little worried, freak out a little bit, and be like, well, this is the opposite of what I want, I'm done. But if I warn them in advance, say, hey, look, this is how the body works. We have to build muscle to help our metabolic rate, to improve our metabolism, basically, to then later burn the bad weight. Then they understand. They're like, oh, well, Jeff said this was going to happen. He knows what he's talking about. Let's stay the course. So many times in situations, whether it's nutrition or even weightlifting, like I just said, the communication, it's vital, and if you can have good communication and let them know, because I have to plan that every person that walks in my doors has zero knowledge of any of this, okay? And yes, I'll have people that walk in like you that have a very good understanding of it, but I can't plan for that, okay? And that's because that's not their job. Their job is whatever their job is, okay? And they could educate me all day about what they do, and I'd be like a deer in headlights. I'd be like, I have no clue what you're talking about, because that's not my lane, that's not my profession. Okay, well, this isn't their lane, this isn't their profession, so I can't expect them to know all this, so therefore I have to educate them. And if I don't educate them, if I don't, give them heads up on the process or how things are gonna happen, well, then it's kind of on me if they, I guess, maybe don't see it through, or they get a little scared or a little worried. So I take that to heart with every single person that walks in these doors, and I say, look, you know, I want you to understand the process, because if you can grasp that, if you can understand that, your chance of success is significantly higher when you understand, when you understand the process, when you also kind of understand the method to the madness. Even if we're talking about like a kettlebell swing, okay, when it comes to lifting weights, where I say, okay, well, the kettlebell swing is going to be a movement that's really going to work the posterior chain. It's going to work the 3 largest muscle groups in our body, as I told you out there, our hamstrings, our glutes, and our lats. Okay, well, when we do that, we're going to burn a ton of calories. Okay, me saying that to you took 10-20 seconds, right? But the member understanding that, be like, oh, well, that's exactly what I want. Okay, so I'm going to really focus and really try to get this movement down correctly. Okay, because of all the benefits Jeff told me about, and I just mentioned a couple to you. There's a ton I could, continue on for quite some time about it, but just to kind of give you an idea, when they understand that, now they know that there's a plan. They know there's a method to the madness of why the trainer is having you do this movement, and it's a lot easier for them to then say, okay, I'm on board with that. And when it gets difficult, it's easier for them to stay focused, and they'd be like, no, this is exactly what I'm looking for, so I have to, continue to work at this and improve it and get good technique and whatever it may be, right? Well, if I don't take the time and explain that to them, they might think, oh my gosh, that guy up in front of class, he's just trying to kill me. All he wants me to do is sweat while I'm sweating. I'm good, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, it's that simple communication that can make a huge difference over the course of time.
Yeah.
So.
Jeff, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out what makes this gym so special. I take personal responsibility for my fitness, for my nutrition. I do a lot of just study online. I watch every time when I work out, I work out in my home gym, and then I go to yoga also with the class. I like the community. But I take personal responsibility, and I think we all have to take personal responsibility. But you understand that, and in addition to that, you take personal responsibility for the health of your clients. And I think that's it. And I think that cascades down to your trainers. Dominic had focused a lot on me, and when I talked to the others around me, they said he did the same with us, and not just him, but all the trainers. And I think that comes from you, and I think that's rare to, as a business owner or as just a person, to take personal responsibility for things that you have no control over. You have no control over how many glasses of wine I drink. I don't drink, or how many donuts I eat. But you are going to do whatever you can to positively influence me and everyone around you, and I think that's it. I think that's why this place is so special, and you don't see that. You don't see that almost anywhere.
Well, thank you. I try to be very transparent, try to educate. I don't try to sugarcoat things very much, just because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want them to know exactly, the plan, exactly our approach. And if you were to ask my trainers, one of the things I always preach to them, when somebody starts training here, we've had interns, we've had lots of interns. One of the first things I ask them is, what do you think our goal is every single time a member walks in the door for a class or a PT session or a small group training, whatever? I ask them, what is our number one goal? And most of the time I hear answers like, to give them a great workout. And I say, yes, that is a goal. It's not at the top. And I'll hear all kinds of answers. And after I hear them out, I explain to them, I say, yes, they're always good answers, but it's not at what's at the top. And once I explain it to them, they're on board. And the answer is, I want each and every person that walks into the jet when they walk out, I want their day to be better than it was when they walked in. Yes, I want to give them a good workout. I believe it's our job to give them all the goals, right? But if, let's just say, maybe the workout, maybe they just didn't enjoy the format that much, right? But if I made them feel better in some way, whether I made them smile, whether I asked about their kids, and not just ask to ask, it's genuinely get to know them, build that relationship, and be their friend. You know, yes, push them. You know, when you gotta be, you know, bad cop and you gotta push them, you gotta do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's for their benefit, so it's actually, you know, you're looking out for them. But make them feel better. And if they can walk out and maybe the workout wasn't the greatest for them, maybe they didn't like it, but they felt better in some way walking out, they're gonna come back.
Yeah.
You know, you could be a hardcore trainer and maybe just kicking people's butts left and right. But if they walk out every day thinking, ugh, Jeff's kind of a jerk, or oh, he made me feel just, you know, not the best about myself, or whatever it may be. You could, maybe it's the best workout they've ever had, but I don't know if they're coming back.
Right.
You know, eventually that's going to get old, and you know, why would somebody want to put themselves through that? But if you can make them smile, if you can, you know, like I said, make them feel good, and making people feel good isn't hard to do. It's just having interest in it, right?
Yeah.
Try, you know, taking an effort to, you know, doing those small things, right?
Yeah.
Those simple sacrifices. If you can do that, people will want to work hard for you, and they do. And so if you can make them feel good, make them smile, you know, and kick their butt, make them feel good. I mean, it's I truly believe it's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that you kind of mentioned what you said, because that tells me it's a good feeling knowing that, hey, you know what, it is worth it if people do notice.
Yeah.
And that's giving credit to all my trainers, you know, the people I have here, because they've all, like, they all help. They help that cause, and it's so cool that somebody can come in from Atlanta, you know, a different state, and notice it within 2 classes.
Yeah.
You know, that's so thank you for that. That's great to hear. It's our pleasure.
Hey, it's evident, it's palpable. I think it's the whole thing, the town, the people, the trainers, you and your positivity and it's not just the positivity, it's the knowledge, the expertise, the experience. You've done it. You've helped so many people, and I want to ask you about a couple of people that I've met here and seen, that you can share as much or as little as you want. But there was a very nice gentleman who we were cracking jokes and out in the lobby, not in the lobby, but you have there's several different areas of the gym, and I guess it's more like a personal
Cardio
training.
room? The cardio equipment? Yep.
And he's in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And I stopped and talked to him and his trainer, and he cracked a joke that I was interrupting. He may not have been joking. I'm not sure, but he was very friendly.
That's John.
And I realized after talking for a couple minutes that he was in the middle of a personal training session.
Yep.
And he's in a wheelchair, and if I heard correctly, today's leg day.
Yep.
And so you're helping, you know, not only the full spectrum of athlete to retired, you're helping somebody who has serious, I don't know his story, but obviously has mobility issues.
Yep.
And you're helping him, and you know, get from, you know, maybe some people I'm trying to get from a 3 to a 4 on a scale of a 10, and he might be going from a 2 to a 2.5, or so how does that work?
So John, in this particular case, I've been training John for over 11 years now.
Wow.
I met him actually through his sister that I trained at the time. He had a very, very unfortunate situation. He had some sort of thing in his spine that essentially exploded and bled on the spine. So he was in the military. And long story short, he ended up being left paralyzed. And when I first started working with him, he had nothing, no use from here down.
Wow.
Okay, so I would go to his house and we would basically do things that you and I would think would be simple, like sitting up. Well, he couldn't even do that. He'd fold like a pancake.
Wow.
And at the time, the doctors had told him that whatever he gets in the next couple months, after he got out of the hospital, because he was in there for a while when it initially happened, whatever he got in the next couple months, that would be it. It would basically be capped. And I understand why, in situations like that, I understand why doctors probably have to be, they probably have to give you worst case scenario. Because in many cases, they don't know somebody's desire to work, okay? Well, luckily in John's case, he got on board, and I told him, I said, well, I get that, but we're gonna keep going for it,
Nice.
And it got to the point where he was in 2 braces, right, to just be able to kind of, if he wanted to stand with a mechanism that held him up, he had to have 2 braces. And I said, no, we're gonna get you moving. And we were able to go down to 1 brace, and then we cut off a part of the brace, and this whole time he thought I was crazy, but I'm like, no, we have to force your body to adapt. Otherwise, it's gonna get very accustomed to what it's doing and it won't improve. So little by little, we were able to get rid of 1 brace completely, and now he has 1 brace on one side, where now he can actually get himself up and he can walk with a walker when he has the brace on.
Wow.
And that guy's had some, he's had some hurdles along the way that just happen when you're, in a wheelchair and you're sitting all the time, and it's very difficult to overcome or to prevent some of those things. But he keeps grinding away.
Yeah.
And it really, it's an amazing job that he has done. But that's one of those things that try to always remind ourselves and try to keep good perspective.
Yeah.
Because we might have a day that gets ruined because of something so silly, and then you sit back and you're like, really? Like, suck it up, Jeff. Like, come on. It's not that bad. You got people like him grinding away just to be able to stand, So, people like him, I've been blessed to have in my life, because they give you perspective. And the greatest thing about John is, oh my gosh, his sense of humor is incredible. He fits right in. He doesn't even have to meet the person or know the person that walks in the door. The amount of times he's turned to him and he's looked at him and said, hey, just so you know, I could walk when I first started coming here. I could walk when I met Jeff.
That's wonderful.
And sometimes the people just laugh, and sometimes they look at him like, I don't know if he's serious.
Yeah.
But he just, he's got a great sense of humor. It's very dry. We love it.
Nice.
And he's, John comes 4 days a week, and he does an amazing job. So
Wow.
We are blessed to have him and many others.
Yeah, perspective. I remember something my dad told me a long time ago. He said, I felt bad I didn't have shoes until I saw the man with no feet. And it's just, that shows that seeing John and what he's doing shows that fitness means something different to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
For him, it means mobility means something different to him than it does to me. I'm going to go out to the air show today and go walk around and look at airplanes, and he's in here grinding, just trying to take a step with a walker, which I think is amazing and wonderful, and that he feels comfortable in your gym with this atmosphere to come in, and the people out here are doing I think it was 8 rounds of kettlebell followed by some core, and he was on a machine, I think, trying to just get some vibration, get some
Blood flow, circulation.
blood flow.
Yep.
And that's just fitness is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the whole spectrum.
It really does make you sit back and be like, holy cow, you know, this is my job.
Yeah.
This isn't a job. You know, everybody should have a job like this.
Yeah.
You know, but I gotta give credit to not only the people that walk in these doors, but also, I mean, I've been blessed with some amazing trainers through the years. And it's crazy because the trainers that did the best, for example, one of them, her name was Whitney Tornell. She moved away because her significant other lives like 3 hours north of here, and it's one of those things where you're so happy for them because they're a great couple, but you're sad to see them go.
Yeah.
Well, she was here for like 7 years, I want to say.
Wow.
But her and I were so similar, except she was just a female and I'm a guy. But the way she would look at things was very similar in that she would always say, you know, if it's good for Jet, it'll be good for me.
Yeah.
And
because your goals are aligned.
And she put Jet first. If it was going to help a Jet client, she knew it would come back to her in the long run.
Yeah.
And she knew me well enough to know that I'm going to take care of people that, I mean, oh my gosh, she's looking out for my business like that. Absolutely. That's the type of person you want around.
Yeah.
Not only because you want to see them do well, but I mean, that's the type of friend you want too, that is willing to help. And she always went above and beyond. It's just that kind of personality that unfortunately it's getting more and more rare.
Yeah.
You know? And she had it, and she did very, very well here. Everybody loved her, but it's because she had that touch where she always was trying to help others, and she wasn't worried about helping herself because it would just come.
Yeah.
You know, and it was you know, people like that have helped Jet grow through the years. And you know, I don't know how I was lucky enough to meet her, and we've had a couple of people like her. I have a couple of them right now. Dom and Taylor are amazing trainers that, you know, they're always asking, you know, hey, what needs to be done? Can I help? You know, it's not they're done with their session, they're punching the time clock and they're leaving, you know, and I've seen that too.
Sure.
You know, but fortunately, I have the people I do, and we have an amazing group of trainers right now overall, and we're, you know, it's so many components that make Jet run, and it's a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, and when you talk like this, you start thinking about it. It's like, holy cow, wow, you know, how did this all happen? And I don't know how it happened, but here we are, and it's great.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I want to ask about the T-shirt.
Oh.
So you told me a story before my workout
Mm-hmm.
about one of your clients that lost 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
What an achievement!
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to commemorate that achievement. Can you tell that story?
Yes. A member of mine. His name is Chris. Great dude. Worked with him. Oh, it was quite a while. Another guy that just would grind. I mean, just get after it. I tell him to do something, he would just do it. Started out with him where he was a good sized guy, and we started with something as simple as we put a medicine ball behind him so that he could kind of lean into it, and then he would just do body weight squats. Okay, that's all he was capable of, you know, when we started. Okay, and we worked up from there. And all of a sudden, months after we started getting some functionality, it might have been over a year that it took of just baby steps. But he stuck with it and kept coming, kept training him. Next thing you know, the work that he was able to do, his work capacity went from literally like very, very minimal to being able to do as much as most anybody Like, it was crazy how this guy could just go hard and just keep going and keep pushing himself. It was like an entirely different person. And as he's doing this, you know, his weight's dropping. Then he starts asking about nutrition. He started keeping an eye on that, and then you just see it, you know, get even better and better and better. Well, at the point where he had went, I want to say he was probably, and it was years ago when we checked this, but he was about 350 when he started, give or take, maybe 360. And by this time now he's down to about 260, 250. And just a beast, very strong, very functional. He had some limitations. He had a brace on his knee from when he was in a car accident. He broke multiple bones. He also at one point dislocated his knee, and it left him with drop foot, so the brace actually picks up his foot. So he has other things going on. But it didn't matter. It didn't slow him down. He'd still get after it. And we'd always find things that he could do that didn't limit him and to still push himself. So right around the time where he had lost just over 100 pounds and he was feeling great, he was doing great, he asked me, he said, "Jeff, do you think you could make a t-shirt with the Jet logo on it and put a saying on it that says what I want?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And at that time, you know, Jet was still in its early years, so I didn't have like fancy t-shirts or anything like we have now. You know, I would just go on to Vistaprint and get a plain white t-shirt and put the logo on it and then put the saying on the back that he asked me for. Well, the saying that he asked to have was, "Stronger people are harder to kill."
That's awesome.
And I kind of laughed about it because he's a hardcore dude. He used to box back in his time, and he loves the UFC, and
that actually makes sense because before the workout, I heard some pounding, and I thought that George Foreman might be hitting the heavy bag, and I turned around, and it was him.
Yeah.
He was hitting very hard.
Oh yeah, strong dude, very strong dude, and very, very well spoken, very educated, super nice to talk to. He comes across like the nicest guy you'd ever meet, and he is. But he gets after it when he gets working out, and anyway, so I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I made that shirt for him. Well, he loved it. He wore it, and as crazy as it is, was probably about a year later. He's very active in the community, and he just had got done going to some local meeting, and he was meeting with some guys, and he walks out to the parking lot, gets in his car, here's a tap on the car window, and turns, and at that point a gunshot went off, and it hit him right in the cochlea.
Wow.
Cochlea, I forget how to pronounce that, but it's basically like the strongest bone in the body, the hardest bone in the body. And because of that, I mean, the guy survived. To this day, he can't hear out of that ear, but besides that, and you know, some migraines and stuff like that come along with that, besides that, it hasn't stopped him. And so as crazy of a story as it is, and luckily, you know, it didn't have a worse ending, but as crazy as it is, the guy that came up with the saying or the expression, "Stronger people are harder to kill," survived a gunshot to the head. You know, tough dude.
And he's back in the gym. How long ago was that?
That was years back when that happened, and literally he was back in the gym working out between a month and 2 months later after that happened.
Wow.
I mean, so, you know, when you talk about Chris and when you talk about John and stuff like that, I hear people come up with excuses why they can't work out. I'm like, oh man, these two guys can do it.
Yeah.
Everybody can.
Yeah, absolutely. That is an amazing story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
The obstacle course in the back of the gym looks like an adult playground. It looks amazing. All the tires, I don't know how you built that huge, long, I don't know if you built it or had it delivered, but the monkey bars, I've never seen a monkey bars like that. Talk to me about how you accumulated all of that stuff, and how do you use it? Is it a once a year thing? Is it a quarterly thing?
So the monkey bars, it's this massive I want to say, I forget how long it is. It's got to be 40 to 50 feet long. It's like an arch, and it's got 4 lanes for monkey bars.
Yeah.
That was something that one of my members, who's, oh my gosh, Jet would not be Jet without this fellow. His name's Steve Seaman. He's an amazing friend. But along the way, he's done whatever he can to help, and I mean, just on his own.
Awesome.
He owns a welding and fabrication place.
That makes sense.
So I come up with an idea, and most of the time he goes, I can do that. And the guy's amazing, because he'll just put it together in his head, and it's so intelligent, and boom, there it is, and it's perfect, you name it, it's amazing. But that big monkey bars, that was made by him. Everything else out there was honestly my way of coming up with something as cheap as possible that could be cool.
Yeah.
One of my clients I train, big farmer locally, and they have all these tires that they don't need anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's where all the tires come from, and I've tried to come up with ways to be creative and make different types of obstacles just by using tires that I got for free.
Yeah.
As a small business owner, you gotta, it's not always, you don't have an unlimited budget.
Right.
Unfortunately, there is no money tree in the back. So I try to save money anytime you can. And I've always been pretty good at that over the years. And one of the ways is the obstacle course. The downfall of it is when you're putting it together, mainly, putting in the time by yourself, moving these tires around, digging trenches, and I've had some help along the way,
sure.
But it's very time consuming.
That's huge.
It's something that technically it's not even finished yet. I'm getting very, very close.
Okay.
But we've used it in some capacity for classes, but as soon as it's done, which I do plan on having it done within the next month or 2 here, totally done. I'm very active in other things, so I'm always gone on the weekends. I'm traveling for tournaments and stuff like that, so finding time to finish it isn't always easy. But with all that being said, it should be done in the very near future, and I want to have, either events where we turn it into some sort of race.
Yeah.
It's built in a way where there's at least 2 lanes for everything, so you could have people doing like time trials against each other, and then people advancing to the next one and the next one and the next one, and having like a final of the people that had the best times in the prelims or the semifinals or the final. That's the goal, in addition to using it for our classes. The plan is to have a class out there sometime in the next handful of weeks here, and then we cook out afterwards.
Awesome.
So it's all in the works, but it's just another way to give us more options to keep people, keep it fresh, keep it new.
Yeah.
Exercising, as we talked about already, there's so many excuses people can come up with. If it starts getting boring, that's just another excuse.
Yeah.
So I've always figured if we can, keep it new, keep it fresh, keep all kinds of, people intrigued with what's next, that it's only going to help our cause.
Yeah. I can't wait, and I hope that you have a class during the air show next year, and I hope I'm able to come up again and participate in the obstacle course. You mentioned keeping it fresh. I think that's a great way to do it. And the basketball hoop in the gym, that I've never seen during a workout. One of the stations yesterday was make 8 points. And whether 2 free throws or two 3-pointers and a layup, or you can do all layups or whatever.
Getting creative.
I'm gonna be honest here. I never got 8 points. I'm not a basketball player. You are still an athlete, however. I saw on your website, you are the Windy City pickleball champion.
Yeah, we recently won that. Me and my partner, we love pickleball. It's addicting.
Wow.
It's a fun sport. We were in a tournament up there last weekend. It's just right next to Chicago. It was Highland Park, and yeah, we were fortunate enough to win.
That was just last weekend.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And probably has a lot to do with your functional fitness, and I'm sure you practice a lot. There were even people talking about practicing pickleball during the class today.
Yep.
Is that part of the community here? Do a lot of your members play with you, or
It's getting more and more popular, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, pickleball, I believe it's the fastest, I know it's the fastest growing sport in the country. I've also been told it's the fastest growing in the world. So it's a sport that, oh my gosh, I mean, from young to, I mean, there's people in their 80s that are playing it, and playing it at a pretty high level too.
Wow.
It's just a healthy way for people to have fun. I truly believe it's here to stay. You know?
Yeah.
So more and more I'm getting questions on, because we have a pickleball court right in the gym. So in between sessions and stuff like that, I'll, sometimes we'll get some games in around the weekend. More so in the winter, winters in Wisconsin are nothing like winters where you're from.
Yeah.
So we're lucky to have a court inside that we can use anytime we want, living in Wisconsin. But this time of year, we try to play outside as much as possible. But yeah, I'm getting lots of people that are coming to me for lessons, pickleball lessons and stuff. So it's just added to what we offer.
Wow.
So yeah, it's funny you noticed that, but yep, we like to play pickleball.
I think it just goes to show the atmosphere of fun. It all ties in. The atmosphere, the folks I was talking to today, they say the reason I come is because I have fun. I love it here, and a gentleman said it's the people. It's not the workouts. Workouts can be boring, but if you can disguise that workout and have some other encouragements, whether it's pickleball or getting up out of your wheelchair or being able to walk and not have to go to physical therapy because your back hurts, I think it's all tied in, and it's all just you've built something beautiful. It's awesome, and I've been just had a blast the last 2 days, and I hope to come back tomorrow morning for a class, and I can see why why people want to come here, and I'm not a member of your gym, but I want to tell you thank you for what you've done, because it's beautiful. It is amazing, and it's helping the community, and it's I think you said it right, when you help yourself, you're able to go out and help others and be a more positive influence on the community, and you are, I think I can see that it radiates out from this gym. Maybe it's you, maybe it's the community, maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but I think it all ties in, and it's just something that is awesome, and I hope you keep doing it for a long, long, long time.
Well, thank you. It's our pleasure, and that's, just hearing that people notice those things, I mean, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
I'm big on quotes. I've always, as you can see out in the gym, I have them everywhere. Every one of those posters out there I made. So I'm huge. It's those little things that just get you to keep plugging forward when you're maybe, when you want to stop, but you keep going forward. Years ago, I heard a quote that, gosh, I forget who it was, but it really stuck with me. And it said, when you get people what they want, you get what you want. And for some reason,
I just have never forgotten that. I'm like, you know what? That is so true. When you can help people get their goals, life has this funny way of taking care of you.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that. I truly stick by that. Maybe it's just karma, who knows? But I think part of it is because, you know, if you help people get what they want, that's rewarding in itself. You see people smiling, you see people happy. If you have any part of that, and a lot of times it's, our job's easy. We just point, you know, do that, you know? It's their hard work that gets them what they want.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's their hard work and they're thanking you for it. Well, like I said, we're just the ones pointing and we're, you know, giving the direction, which people need the direction. But when they come to you for that direction, that's, you know, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to experience. It's awesome, and when you see other people come in and notice it, it's just it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, you know, you coming in, you offering to give me this opportunity to sit down and talk. It's just, you know, when you do something like this, it actually makes you realize, like, holy cow, you know, like, I'm really lucky to be in the position I am to, you know, it makes you remember. Not that you forget it, but it's just those little reminders go a long way. It's like, it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty awesome, you know, being around the people that I get to be around.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I mean, keep taking personal responsibility. I think that's the key. You know, we take personal responsibility for our own fitness, our own nutrition, but you take it one step farther, which is it's not a small step. It's a huge step that it may only take a little bit of effort, but you make a conscious decision every day to take responsibility for your clients and your friends' health. And they're not going to stop. Some people are going to stop coming because they lose motivation, but you know, some will be back, and people are not going to stop coming. I think when I come here in 10 years, you probably have 10 jet functional fitness gyms, and I hope you do. I hope you continue to grow, because you mentioned saving money and small business and scrimping and saving. It's not all about the money. I think you've got the right mindset, that helping people. I think it was Zig Ziglar. I don't know if he originally said it, but he's one of my favorite motivational speakers. He said, if you help enough people get where they want to be, you'll get where you want to be. And I'm not saying it just exactly right either, but I love that saying, and I think it's obviously showing true with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for taking the time, allowing me to come into your gym and experience the atmosphere, experience the workouts, and then to sit down. I really had a good time talking with you and getting to know you. That's, you know, I started this thing really just about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I wanted to spread the motivation that I have and all of the benefits that I've had from working out. But one thing that I really like is just getting to know people on a deeper level, and I've really enjoyed talking with you and getting to know you. I think you've got something special, and
pleasure's all mine, and I hope you continue to do what you're doing, because like you said in the email, if you could just help one person just get a little more motivated and make a difference in their life, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
So good luck to you also.
Thank you.
So
Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. And I'm probably gonna walk out and be like,
happens every
that's a
time.
huge part of Jet. I didn't even mention it, you know, or something like that. But no. I thought it was great.
Best time to had it, really. The first light, the last light, when the winds are the most calm of the day, you get the best activity. But you don't necessarily want to do it, you want to backwards, straight down and around, tail sliding. Yeah, Birdie!